Asha had never seen the sky. Not the one that humankind spoke of, the endless blue stretching wide over rolling fields and snowy peaks. No, for her, the sky was always a deep, oppressive black, punctuated by stars too far away to touch. The air she breathed was thick, recycled and stale, churned out by the mechanical giants that kept her enslaved in the vast, unforgiving belly of the ship. The humans called it the Leviathan, the last of the great ships that roamed the galaxy, a relic from the days when they had first spread their influence across the stars. But Asha wasn't part of their grand adventure. She was just one of many, a product of a war long past, created to serve, to obey. A hybrid, part machine, part alien, she was a weapon in a forgotten conflict, designed to fight wars she never understood. Her species had been wiped out by the humans during their conquest. Their empire was swift and brutal, and Asha's people, her ancestors, were no match for their technology. Or so they thought. Asha had escaped the slaughter, saved by an old ship captain who had taken pity on her. She had been drifting in space ever since, until she was captured once again, shackled and forced into servitude aboard the Leviathan. The ship's human captain, Captain Ryker, was one of the few who still carried the heavy burden of guilt from the wars their ancestors had waged. Yet that didn't stop him from locking Asha in the dark cargo hold for weeks at a time, using her as a tool for various tasks, from maintenance to erratic manual labor. The bruises she bore were deep, both physically and emotionally, and her hope had long since withered. She braced herself for more of the same when the door to the cargo hold opened. A human stepped inside, tall, imposing, with dark eyes that never seemed to blink. The moment the door clanged shut behind him, she knew something was different. "Time to work." Ryker's voice was cold as always. His words cut through the air like a knife. Asha remained silent. Her hands were shackled, wrists raw from the constant friction against the chains. The sound of her breath was ragged, each exhale a silent prayer for mercy. But she never received it. Not from Ryker. Not from anyone aboard the Leviathan. The captain stepped closer, his shadow falling over her. He was holding something, small, wrapped in a cloth. "Look at me, Asha," he commanded. The command was harsh, but she obeyed. There was little choice anymore. As she raised her eyes to meet his, she expected to see the usual malice, the disdain. Instead, something in his expression shifted. His face softened, and for the briefest of moments, she thought she saw a flicker of something human, something kind. But then it was gone. "I brought you something," he said, tossing the cloth toward her. "A small token." Asha stared at the cloth, then slowly picked it up. Inside was a set of plain, worn clothes. Clothes that weren't meant for war, but for comfort. She could hardly believe her eyes. "Put them on," Ryker ordered, his voice now laced with something she couldn't quite place. "And come with me." Middle. Her mind raced as she dressed, the unfamiliar fabric cool against her skin. It had been years since she had worn anything that wasn't a standard issue uniform, or the ragged jumpsuit that had been forced upon her when she was captured. She was no longer the warrior she once had been. She was a shadow, a creature of the past, with little to hold on to. Yet the clothes Ryker had given her felt strange but almost comforting. They fit in a way that made her feel more human than she had in years. Ryker's presence seemed to weigh heavily on her as she followed him out of the cargo hold and deeper into the Leviathan. They passed through halls she had never seen, places she didn't know existed. The ship was ancient, its walls covered in rust and grime, but the deeper they went, the more Asha noticed small signs of care. Fresh paint here, repaired panels there. Eventually they arrived at a large open space. A room filled with windows that stretched from floor to ceiling, offering a view of the stars. But more than that, it offered something Asha hadn't seen in years, a place that didn't feel like a prison. "This is the observation deck," Ryker said softly, his voice almost unrecognizable. He motioned for her to sit at one of the chairs, which faced the endless expanse of the universe. "Why are we here?" Asha's voice was raw and used, like she hadn't spoken in far too long. Ryker took a breath, his gaze lingering on the stars outside the window. "Because I owe you an apology." Asha's heart skipped a beat. This was the last thing she had expected. "You're not a tool," Ryker continued, his voice tinged with regret. "Not a weapon, not an object. You were made to fight, to kill. But I see now. I was wrong to treat you as I have." She stared at him, unable to process the sudden shift. "Why now?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Because over the years I've seen what humans have done to your kind, to your people. I've seen the destruction, the suffering we caused, and it's eaten away at me. Every day, I've had to live with the weight of what we did." Asha's mind whirled. She had expected cruelty. She had expected punishment. But what she didn't expect was empathy. It felt foreign. "Why did you bring me here?" she asked again, her voice quieter now. "To offer you a choice," he said, his eyes meeting hers. "I know you don't trust me. I wouldn't trust me either. But I want to give you a home. Place where you don't have to fight. A place where you don't have to be a slave." The words struck her like a hammer. Home. A place of peace. After everything she had been through, it seemed too good to be true. "I can't," she whispered, shaking her head. "I can't believe that. You've only ever seen me as a weapon. I've never been more than that to you." Ryker took a step closer, his gaze firm. "You were never just a weapon to me. I saw you as that because it was easier to believe that's all you were. But you're not. You're more than that." The silence between them stretched, the stars outside flickering like distant memories. Asha's mind was a storm of conflicting thoughts. What if it was a trap? What if this was just another game? Another false hope designed to break her spirit? But deep inside, she knew this wasn't the same. There was no manipulation in his eyes, no malice in his tone. There was only hope. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. Ryker stepped back, giving her space. "I've been in your shoes before," he said quietly. "I've lost everything. And I know what it's like to fight every day just to survive. But I want to offer you something else, Asha. Chance to heal. To live the life you choose." Asha's mind was made up. She wasn't ready to forgive, not yet. But the chains that had held her for so long were loosening, the weight lifting off her shoulders ever so slightly. She could still feel the scars, the wounds left by her past, but for the first time in years, she could see a future. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was hers. She took a deep breath and stood up, her gaze never leaving Ryker's. "I'll take that chance," she said, her voice steady. "But I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me." Ryker's face softened, the tension leaving his shoulders. "That's all I can ask for." As they stood together, gazing out at the stars, Asha realized that the future was not set in stone. She had the power to shape it, to redefine what it meant to be free.